Hello, friends. You're listening to a Hasty Podcast. I'm your host, Weston Hasty, and you're listening to a Hasty Podcast. Today, I'm joined by two close friends of mine, Dave Rediger and Gela Rediger of Camp Nostalgic fame. Welcome to the podcast.
Weston, thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
It's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, we were just talking about how it's been forever since we actually spoke in person. I want to get off the bat just right away for everyone at home that's listening so that you don't all forget. I'm telling you right now, and then we'll tell you later. CampNostalgic.org is where you can find all of the things that Gela and Dave here are working on. Specifically, their Camp Nostalgic Studios has a host of shows that you can watch on YouTube. They have stuff available on their website, but if you want to find links to all of their things, I recommend CampNostalgic.org. Is there anything else that you want to plug before we get further on that I am not thinking of?
For Camp Nostalgic, it's basically just that. It's a one-stop shop that links you to everything else. Gela has a website as well.
I do, yeah, GelaRediger.com. It's just my portfolio of art, animation, and digital art that I've done for other people and for Camp Nostalgic as well.
GelaRediger.com. That's right. I actually follow a lot of your art stuff that you do on... I see it in all the different places because I see it on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter because I stalk you everywhere apparently, and I try to make sure to always at least give a thumbs up on it because it's always so good. So yeah, GelaRediger.com for all of her artsy stuff that she does herself, and CampNostalgic.org for the stuff that they do together. I'm involved in at least one thing that they've released so far, so if you're interested in what I do, I'm over there for one thing so far, a few things to come, so if you need my seal of approval, there it is.
Yeah, so far. It took a while, right?
It took a while, especially from conception, so just kind of going back for everyone listening, we know each other from years ago. Gela had this idea to start like a collaborative YouTube channel, and you guys, I forget how you guys reached out to me, but I think Gela reached out to me first in some way or another. Maybe she asked Alex to reach out. I forget how we reached out, but I remember we all gathered up at the Lake of the Woods park with just us four, you two, me, Alex, and then a few others as well. We were all together trying to brainstorm a collaborative YouTube channel project, which turned into kind of just the four of us, you two, me, and Alex, trying to do like this other project that we called Coffee at 8, which really just ultimately turned into you two with the help of Alex creating Camp Nostalgic. So it's been a kind of a strange road to get there, but I have a show that I wrote, Hey Dave, for Coffee at 8, now being hosted on Camp Nostalgic. And the first episode of that, very short, very easy to get into, released here a few weeks ago.
Yes, and the next one's coming out very soon as well.
I know, I'm personally looking forward to it. It was kind of a blast to the past to see my facial hair significantly diminished because this was shot so much long ago.
That was a signature look from you, and now it's fully, you do the full beard.
Full beard.
Yeah, I'm back to full beard Weston. I had a full beard long ago, then I went to just the goatee thing for a very long time, and I've cycled back to full beard. We're always on that tipping point of just one like mental snap away from just going back to babyface Weston and going full shave, but we never reach it. We never quite get there.
It's opposite with you. When you lose your mind, the beard goes. Usually people grow it out and become a caveman. You go clean shaven.
We know you're doing good when it's fuller.
Yeah, the fuller the beard, the more sane the person, maybe, out of me anyway.
His beard is so long, he's doing so good.
Yeah.
So, speaking of that, so when are you two growing your full beards?
I'm still trying to...
Right, probably gonna wait till No Shave November, you know. Follow the trend.
Classic move. I don't know if I should like do the reverse. No Shave November comes up. I'm gonna just shave like, you know, a quarter of an inch at a time, like every week, and watch it get smaller and smaller, and just.
It's funny we're mentioning beard hair and stuff. I was always envious of your beard growth to begin with, but also speaking of Alex and you. I'm the third red beard. I know I'm a brunette, but I have a red beard too. Right. And I was always jealous that I couldn't connect the mustache to the actual goatee. So
Yeah, your hair is an interesting mix since you have the dark like head hair, and then you kind of grow out more red in your facial hair, which isn't wildly uncommon, but it is like unusual of a mix. But like I do see that every now and again people have like dark hair, but they have like flares of red in their hair, and I find that very strange, especially coming since I'm all red hair. How often which isn't crazy often, but how often I hear like, oh, red hair is like going extinct, and I'm like, well, some of you have black hair, but you have red beards. I mean, or vice versa, or like it's in there. The red gene lives on.
if it's going extinct, then we should feel protected.
Right.
We should have government protection.
I think we should. We should have government reparations, in fact, for all of the red-headed hate that we have received throughout the years.
At least a hefty fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Some benefits.
All the rest of you get souls. I think the rest of us redheads should get money.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
It somehow makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So how many... Look, we've talked about Camp Nostalgic right now, and I'm a little out of the loop with all of the behind-the-scenes Camp Nostalgic stuff going on, because obviously I'm not, like, making it behind the scenes, but how many shows do you have? Like, okay, so we have, obviously the Hey Dave thing that I was talking about. You guys have the Saturday morning show, which I have been keeping up with. There's 2 episodes out so far, as of recording this. There might be 3 by the time this actually comes out. When's your next one coming out? This Saturday?
September 3rd. It's the first Saturday of every month.
First Saturday of every month. Okay, I think I invented your schedule. So from the time of recording in just a couple weeks, you guys have your I'm gonna get the name wrong. The County Park Podcast. Help me out. What was the name of the podcast?
County Park Podcast.
County Park. Okay, I got it right. I was like, is it just County Park? For some reason, I thought there was another word in there. County Park Podcast. I like all the different advertisements, like doing classic advertisement bits. They're kind of like, for everyone listening at home, they're like basically short comedy sketches, but it's in the vein of, it's an advertisement for a product or service, and they're great.
Yeah, we wanted to base the entire network. Basically, it's a satire of a television channel. You know, so every show's got those fake commercials in it and the advertisements and fake sponsors and stuff like that.
And you've also hosted other people's content, like with the Funny Ass comedy show, where you feature comedians. Yep.
It's all leading up to kind of the, I would say, 5-year, 10-year goal of Camp Nostalgic is to basically own that first Saturday of every month. So start at 8 in the morning with the Saturday morning show, and just stream all that first Saturday until nighttime. And we're kind of, and we haven't really explained this really. This is a Hasty exclusive.
Ooh, I get the inside scoop.
We want to link the nighttime stuff with the morning stuff, you know. So we're doing like the Funny Ass Road shows are like a nighttime Comedy Central Presents style stand-up show, and we're working on a nighttime show to kind of be the parallel to Saturday morning as well. That's in development. But then we have things like Saturday morning, County Park Podcast. So we're going to eventually meet in the middle, I think. And just have like one Saturday a month just be kind of a block, a television block style stream.
I feel like that's very exciting. That's very ambitious, for sure. You've always had, since we've been talking all the way back at like Coffee at 8 Days, these sort of grand visions for this all connected out sort of show. And it's already, like you said, like in terms of like the 5-year, 10-year plan, even as far back as 5 or more years ago when we kind of first put this together, when we were first trying to collaborate on Coffee at 8. How long ago was that now? What year was that when we started that?
It was like 2016 to like 2018, I want to say. Like, it was like a 2-year.
Well, that was your brainchild. You wanted to,
well,
you can explain.
I mean, yeah, it was just like, I knew you guys from high school. We didn't necessarily talk. We weren't, me, you, and Alex were not close friends, but we talked.
Right.
Here and there. But, like, I just remember I wanted to make some sort of network page where, you know, you guys had a series that you worked on, and we had something kind of Camp Nostalgic now, but not as close knit as what we're doing now, but
kind of like a local IGN a little bit or something.
that's kind of what I wanted to do. And then what it was, we, like you said, we met at Lake of the Woods. We had that little picnic, and while I was cleaning up the picnic, you started talking to them, and I, like, by the time I was done cleaning, I came back, and you're like, hey, we're thinking about doing a sketch trip instead. And, like, I was totally fine with it because that's what I love to do. So I was just like, all right, yeah, screw it, scrap it.
So yeah, I don't know if that's what we talked about this entire time, but okay, yeah, that sounds great.
Right.
Well, I was done with video making at the time. I was kind of burnt out, frustrated. I said, I don't want anything to do with it. And you're like, well, there's a lot of like talented people. What if we could like make this kind of super group where like Weston will do video games and Alex will do music and we'll do comic books. And I remember going, I'll go and support. Well, I'll maybe help with cameras, but I'm done. And then we all meet for the first time, and you're right.
I like wait for like 10 minutes.
Just clean up the food, put it in the car, and then by the time you got back to the table, Weston, Alex, and I were like, we're doing sketches.
And like I said, I was fine with it. There's no animosity at all because I love doing that. I would much rather do that.
It happened that quick too. It was like, hi, I'm Alex. I'm Dave. I'm Weston. Yeah, we used to do something. We did this thing in high school. I'm like, oh, I did things in high school too, and then it was just as quick as that.
It is. It's funny how roundabout especially trying to start something. I feel like on this podcast, listeners of this podcast, remember I've had Alex on here twice as a guest, and we often like to kind of sidetrack into the stuff we've done, but we don't talk a lot about like that round robin, like trying to come up with what it is you want to create, just the whole like the actual mechanical part of, oh yeah, I started a YouTube channel, that kind of thing. But in terms of when we were trying to create that project, it's wild how roundabout when you're trying to create an idea, create a name, create like what the heck is the content even going to be. You know you want to make something, but you're not sure what or how yet. And the just completely open just open range, just open field that is, where you're just shooting arrows into a field and hoping you stick something. I don't know.
Well, I think we just eventually landed on familiarity, too. We all came from the sort of independent sketch high school buddy groups. So, like, Angela's idea was great, and we eventually ended up doing that, kind of, sort of like doing that with Camp Nostalgic now. But at the time, we're like, whoa, that seems really big. Well, we can make really funny skits. And then from that, Angela was like, okay, well, I have a friend, M, and then we can get Randy involved. And then, Gela, you were like, my cousin Tiffany, she'd be perfect for it. So then we just started doing what we always did, grabbing buddies, grabbing family members, and then Coffee Date was born.
And I think that's one thing that part of me, I don't know if jealous is the right word, but maybe it is, that I'm a little jealous how easily I think it, from my point of view, it has been for the two of you to like reach out and just, I've got this person, I've got that person, and just put together, like going all the way back to even showing up at Lake of the Woods. It's like, what, all these people are here. I know from my end of it, when I sat down to start creating my things for my channel at the time, which, God, 2016 is so long ago, but I had been working on my own baby channel, my gaming thing, at that point for about 4 years. So I'd been like putting all this time and energy and doing this thing on my own and by myself, and that was fine. That was satisfying, like a creative thing that I needed to do at the time. But then when you guys came in, it's like we want to do this great big thing with all these different people that I know when I showed up, it's like, I feel a little out of my depth here. This is a little bit more like moving parts than I know what to do with. But I think your guys' experience with actual sketch stuff really helped because, you need extra hands. You need extras. You need actors. You need equipment operators. It becomes very quickly a much bigger ordeal. I don't know if ordeal is the right word because that sounds like sounds like a terrifying experience, but maybe it is just a little bit. How on a scale of excited to terrified when you go into one of these projects, where are you?
Well, it's always starting from scratch. We've done a lot of different groups, and even with you and Alex, it was a whole panic of like, I don't think they're going to go for it. I'll give them a shot. You know, it was kind of like a ballsy thing. They're like, no, they got their channels, and as crazy it is for us to reach out and try for something like that, it's really you guys and your generosity of going, sure, I'll try it out.
Yeah.
And, same with Randy. But even with Camp Nostalgic too, it was starting from scratch all over again. And I honestly don't know how we get so many people involved. The only thing I can think of is one thing leads to another. With Camp Nostalgic, we started with our buddy Dustin Danger, who's a musician and producer in Oakwood, and I knew him from a old project. So I said, okay, we're gonna focus on him, and because we can trust him, he trusts us, and nobody knew us or anything about Camp Nostalgic, but working with him got us to the next thing, So just momentum and blind faith, I think, and a vision. That's it. Like, there's nothing special. We're just two people that like to make sketch videos and aren't afraid to look stupid when people say, I don't want to do this.
I like that. Blind faith and a vision.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a good tagline for something.
I think Alex named two of his old bands Blind Faith and Vision. I think he was telling me. Really? Because I was gonna say, if that's not a thing, I think we should use that. That will be your competitive band. When what's the I can only think of the Stepmother Boat Party. That's the name of the song. What's the name of the band that you guys do in Saturday morning? That is the band, Stepmom Boat Party.
That is the name. Okay. I don't know why my brain doesn't work, but when that band, you should have an episode where the band like breaks up and you all have like you try to have your three solo careers, and one's like Blind Faith and one's Vision and one's like the just Boat from Boat Party or something.
Opposite of each other. One has a vision.
When is maybe it already is. When's that hitting Spotify? Your whole album of Stepmom Boat Party music.
When we started the Saturday morning, the Stepmom Boat Party thing kind of came late. It was we have to have a house band, and our idea before a house band was, let's just get a bunch of people to play characters like fake musicians and come on and sing, but that was just way too many moving parts. So we sort of became the fake house band, and then we picked up Dustin because we were like, wouldn't it be funny if we get Dustin Danger to front the fake band? So it's really Dustin Danger in the Stepmom Boat Party. Alex and I are the Stepmom Boat Party.
Oh, okay, yeah. I do like it though. I do like that can sort of be your capstone, or not capstone, but like the finishing touch to the show, where it's like, and all right, we're gonna go to the house party, and whatever the heck that last song on the last episode was about, that country song about urinating yourself.
It had that in there, yes. You have to leave the people happy. That's the thing. It was when we were developing the show, we're like, are people going to be okay with what the show is? And then we pulled the rug from underneath them at the end and all that. You'd have to watch it to really get. I don't want to spoil the idea of the show.
You do have to watch it to fully understand yourself. Look for Camp Nostalgic on YouTube or on campnostalgic.org. Watch Saturday morning. Mm-hmm. Watch the stuff, guys, at home. Just watch it. I'm not gonna explain any of it. Just watch it. Yeah. Watch Dave just shred all of his father's and personal collection of music in a shredder. That definitely happened. It's real.
Yeah, happy about that.
Nope, we're still not talking. But that's okay. Content.
It's in the name of content. I do like the just in general, not even that episode specifically, but yeah, the general how all in you go on your content. I know, like when we were shooting for Hey Dave, how much you two were capable of envisioning how it would actually be made, and how, like, when we had to go to different scene changes and moving around props, outfits, the entire shebang was far more intricate and more complicated than I had originally envisioned it in my head when I wrote it. It's easy to write it on paper, just, ink on paper, right? Just, it's words. But then when we had to go out and do it, the dedication to finding and having props and just using everything you already had possible, knowing what to go out and get extra of. And it's just, again, just the entire thing feels like that next step to making, like you said, the 5 to 10 year plan, this whole like blocked out TV show basically that you can play on a Saturday morning. You said you wanted to like stream it. Is that something you want to stream to like things like YouTube and Twitch or straight to your channel?
Yeah, eventually we would like to start at 8 in the morning with the national anthem, and then we would run all the way till 8 at night, 9 at night with just content, 20 minutes here and there. We do documentaries, we do all sorts of little kind of stuff that's still in development. But yeah, start with Saturday morning, and we kind of want to treat Saturday morning as like the Today Show. You know how the Today Show is like 5 hours long? It's not just this little...
Is it? I haven't watched the Today Show in like forever. I think I only ever see clips of it anymore.
Yeah. Well, I used to watch it when I was younger, Beyond, but it's like 5 hours long, and it just keeps going all morning long, different segments, different hosts. You start with these two people, and then at like 6 in the morning, and by 8 o'clock in the morning, it's some other different segment, and they're doing street interviews, all that kind of stuff. We like for Saturday morning to be that, and then kind of go more into hits, and then documentaries, and then end with your late night talk show and a comedy show, just kind of like just one Saturday a month, just kind of take over the day. And I'm really inspired by television and the formats of television. I was always mesmerized by it. When I was a kid, television was like this kind of like this oasis. It was like 60 channels of complete adventure for me. I was an indoor kid, so I just flipped the channels, and I loved everything. I loved the structure of just like, like the TV Guide channel, and then you go over to MTV, and then you got your Cartoon Networks, and I always loved that. And I love the commercials and the basically the whole structure of television. And I wanted to mimic it. I'm also a big fan of satire, and I love parody, and thought maybe we could make like the anti-YouTube channel a little bit, where we don't really have real sponsors. It's all a joke. And the viewers sort of late to it, like, oh my god, this is another gag, So we're kind of experimenting over here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but to go back to figuring out Hey Dave, I think we learned a lot from Coffee at 8. I don't think Coffee at 8 was so much of like a failed experiment. I think we all grew and learned and figured out what we were good at and what we were not good at. And something that Gela and I found that we were good at was producing, taking things and bringing them to life. We did do a few skits that never really did get to air with Coffee at 8, and they eventually showed up on Camp Nostalgic Video Vault.
Right.
And
I'm glad they found a home on Camp Nostalgia, a home somewhere, because we did put a lot of work into the stuff we did at Coffee at 8.
Yes, we did.
I think it was just so new at the time, because those were big shoots too.
Yeah.
We'd drive like clear across, the central part of the state. It seemed like to go do like we go to Indiana, then we go all the way over to Bloomington, then we, in one day doing these skits in different locations, and that was kind of, before we knew it, a testing ground for what we wanted to do with Camp Nostalgic.
Exactly.
And Alex, he's a great producer. And you're a great writer as well.
I've only done the one thing.
Well, you came up with some stuff that we probably can't do now. That was 2016 ideas.
Right.
There were some good ones. There were some bad ideas in there. I'm sure. I without going through the old Google Docs, I could not imagine what garbage we did come up with. But
it's kind of fate that it stopped us before we get canceled.
Can you imagine? We would have done the console house thing.
Yeah. So, and then we also had something inside your nether regions too. Came up with that.
Yeah.
Deep inside the testicles.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd forgotten about that show that takes place inside a man's testicles.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ideas that it's funny that only 4 of them ever got done out of all that. But
Man Cats made it out of there, though.
Man Cats, Slumber Party, Dad Fight, and Grandpa Showroom. Yeah.
It's funny how I don't remember exactly what our initial reaction was to the idea of Man Cats when we were writing Man Cats. But I do know when I rewatch it now, there's something about it. I don't know if the fact that, because it's like shot at night, so it's kind of on the darker side. I don't know if it's the smoky room that like Randy's in. I don't know if it's just the material itself. There's something about it that's like strangely dystopic or dark to me, and I don't know why that is. Like, we're on the cusp of, like, it seems silly, but we're on the cusp of some sort of alternate universe horror film for some reason. I don't know why I feel that now, but
even to peel it back even more, it was supposed to be an advertisement too, because the whole idea of Coffee at 8, before it was called that, it's called Coffee at 8 because we would meet up at Denny's every Friday night at 8 o'clock to write this show. And it was supposed to be called Writers of the Round Table. And,
that's right.
And it was supposed to be a sketch show about us making a sketch show and trying to pitch these ideas, these commercials, to a network. And Mancast was supposed to be a allergy medicine commercial, about being allergic to cats, I think. So it's really weird. So what showed up on screen is completely different than what our intentions were. And
it's
I think
kind of funny too that because that was like the original idea was that the show was going to be the Writers of the Round Table, where we're supposed to be writing about these shows, but I don't think we ever recorded or filmed any of us making that show, just the side stuff.
I don't think we could grasp our heads around how to actually pull off a show about writing a show.
Yeah.
So we just ended up making the skits, and we were hoping to do that part of the show. I mean, because like Slumber Party, that's supposed to be like a pizza commercial, right?
Yeah, by the end of it was supposed to be a pizza commercial.
Yeah. Slumber Party, yeah, that's a long twisting road to get to eventually pizza.
Right. That was the problem too. Alex was like, think small, Dave. Think small. I'm like, okay, and I'd write 4 more pages.
I do remember that being a thing where it's like, we gotta simplify, and you're like, okay, I will add information. That is the opposite.
Yes. Dad Fight is a waffle commercial. Grandpa Showroom, that was just Grandpa Showroom.
Yeah, Grandpa Showroom, I don't think was an ad. That was a fever dream.
It was supposed to be a movie trailer like it is now. It was supposed to be a trailer.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Because I was thinking it wasn't an ad for like a product, but yeah, I guess a movie trailer. You're right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So that was it, and I think we all just were kind of experimenting at the time. I obviously wanted to make short movies.
Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was nothing wrong with that.
No. We all had fun. But I think the wheels started to fall off a little bit towards the end. I think it was, especially with the way that it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a show with 5 skits per show. And there was I always say there was like no real structure to how we were going to do it. We're just like, let's make a show about a show. But for how long? How many? Like we were just creating, and then we're like, let's do another. And I think that really put a toll on it, I think. Because
the scope, like you said, like it was supposed to be a show that was going to have like 5 different segments per episode or something like that. And I think on paper, because I feel like I remember kind of documenting this or like diagramming this out or whatever, like, oh, this should work on paper for what we're shooting for and how long the sketches are realistically going to be. But once we started recording those different sketches, the scope was just so much larger than I think, at least me, much larger than I anticipated it would be. So I think the 5 segment idea became untenable very quickly. And I'm not entirely sure how we fell apart eventually, if suddenly schedules might have changed, we got busy. I'm not entirely sure how we kind of like fell apart towards the end there, but I think very quickly once the filming began, we realized just how much bigger this was than originally conceived.
Right.
Well, yeah, the last one we did was Slumber Party, and we were all sitting there in Indiana at a mutual friend's house, and it's like 2 a.m. I think.
It was so late. That shoot, we were there early, and we were there so late. And big shout out to that mutual friend and that whole family and that for sharing their house with us for the entire time, because we were there all day.
Yeah, you all just kind of like looked at each other and like, man, that was 13 hours.
Right.
Holy moly! Like, and I don't know. It's just that. Well, that was the last time we filmed. That's all I know.
Yeah.
But we're all going through changes. I think there was a lot of things because right after that, Alex moved to Memphis. He needed a change in his life. We needed a change.
That's true. He was moving. I don't know what happened to me. I just fell off, I guess. I'm not entirely sure. But
I think you were going to school too.
I was probably still going to school because I was going to school. I was, my work situation or whatever. I keep busy with one thing or the other. But as far as like as a group, I think I just kind of fell off at some point. Not sure how.
I was listening to your latest podcast, and you were talking about the funk you were going through when you were in school the last time. And I think that was right around that time.
It could have been. It very well could have been. It gets kind of hazy, especially, when you try to look back at anything before the pandemic in general, is like this fog of mystery for some reason. But that could have been it.
Yeah.
Where I know. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. What?
Oh, I just said it was BC before COVID.
Oh, I make that joke sometimes. I'm like, oh yes, the BC era before COVID.
Yeah, so it was meant to happen. It was all meant to happen, then it was meant to phase out, and then luckily things have been picked up. And
I think also, now that I think about it, you two were once upon a time trying to move out to California, and that didn't happen. So that might have also been a part of it, because Alex was going to Tennessee. You guys were shooting for California one day.
Yep.
Yeah, we were about to move there. We were 3 days away from moving in, and there was a tragedy in our family, but and that kind of just kept us back here.
Yep.
Yeah, and not to dive into that, I just had this sudden flash, like, oh, that's right, you two are going to move as well, so that probably played a little bit of a part in that, where the idea was that, well, we're kind of all going in different directions now, but I just had that kind of flashback, like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, we were all complete divas. We had our band, and then it broke up, and we're like, well, I'm going to Memphis. Well, I'm going to California.
Yeah.
And
I still want to know if our waitress at Denny's still thinks about us ever.
Yeah, we never could get her name right.
We went to Denny's so many times for so long that we had many different waitresses and waiters. But yeah, Anne, I think her name was, or
no, it was either Rayanne or Renee.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. She was such a big fan of us, and she had no idea what we were doing.
And we're like, we're gonna be making this big show or whatever, and like just very typical, like kind of up our own butts a little bit, like, oh, I've got this manuscript, I'm gonna make this big movie or whatever. And she's like, oh yeah, that's super cool, whatever, sure.
Yeah, and then we had that one guy, our first waiter ever, when we went to Denny's. He thought we were making vines.
Oh yeah, it's like, you guys making vines? And we weren't. Maybe we should have or whatever. And then jumped on the TikTok train. We could have been doing very different content years ago. We could have been.
We could have been.
We could have been Viners.
I don't know if I ever did.
We could have been making way overcomplicated sketches on Vine.
Yeah, that would have been us. Yeah.
It's like, Dave, I need to take your entire advertisement that you just wrote in 12 pages. I need it 7 seconds.
That would have been a great plan for you. Now he has to think small.
Right.
You have to think less.
So yeah, that's the Coffee at 8 story. It was birthed out of a let's make a IGN. Then it was let's just do what we know how to do. And then we met a lot at Denny's and eventually did film 4 skits.
Yeah.
And then that was it. But along the way, we grew together. We formed a bond. We met. Well, how did Randy become involved in this?
That was one of Alex's connects.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was an Alex.
Yeah, Alex worked with Randy once upon a time. I knew Randy from school, but we weren't close or anything. But Alex had worked with him, so he was closer to Randy. And I think he brought him in for, the sketches. I think that's how he got connected.
Yeah, and I fell in love with Randy right away because he's just super funny, willing to do anything. He's a man of many costumes.
Yes.
He's the only man that could look like a 20 or 30-year-old, but also look like an 80-year-old with a little dry shampoo in his hair.
He's very committed too. He'll shave his head for a role if you describe it, and you won't even ask him. He'll just do it.
Yeah. I think he's one that he was a lucky find because he has also always wanted to be a creator on some aspects. So when he got involved in this with the Coffee 8 and then your Camp Nostalgia stuff, I think he was just really excited to throw himself into that kind of thing. For any of my listeners that maybe happen to be avid viewers of my stream, every now and again Randy comes into the stream under Randy Mation. It might be Randy Mation Studios. I don't remember if it's studios or not in the YouTube name, but Randy Mation, who we know, was trying to get into the animation game. He was trying to animate little cartoons. He's put some content out as well on YouTube. I don't think he's currently making anything himself right now that I know of. And if he is, then I apologize, Randy. I have missed your content. But I think he was just someone who was really passionate about creating stuff as well. And when he got involved in all of the Coffee at 8 and the Camp Nostalgia, I think he just got really excited. And like you said, he was a great find. He is committed to doing pretty much anything you hand him. Yes.
And he's not just this crazy guy that would do anything. Like he's a really good actor, and a character actor too. And he does still do content. He does comedic narratives and reaction videos, and I really enjoy him. And I think we kind of let him down with Coffee at 8 because he was like, "This is it. This is my big break. I'm getting out of Melvin." and then we're like, "No, well, we're gonna take a big break." But as soon as we started Camp Nostalgic, he was immediately contacted by us. He said, "We're doing it again, Randy.
We're doing it again."
He's part of the sketch crew and pops in every now and then with Saturday Morning. He was in the last episode in one of the commercials, and there'll be a lot more of him. You and him just kind of blended characters in the last shoot you were at because we were filming Hey Dave, but we were also filming one of Randy's characters that hasn't aired yet.
Yeah,
that's right. I'm looking forward to. I'd kind of forgotten about that, but now that you say that, oh yeah, I remember that whole character bit that he was doing all day when we were shooting in your guys' living room. I look forward to that one.
Yes, he plays a guy named Tony. And
hey, Tony.
Tony with a prank show. And I messaged him probably a couple days before the shoot, and I said, "Do you think Tony would have a chin strap beard?" And he messaged me back, goes, "Maybe." And then he shows up with that thin strap beard. He'll do that. He'll screw his hair up.
That's on purpose. Yeah.
He was committed to that. I don't think I'd have done that. I don't think I would have shaved my beard for a sketch. And you know what? I'm a little disappointed in myself, but that just lends more credence to his devotion.
Well, we all got our thing.
Right.
You created a great mini-series where you didn't need to shave anything.
Luckily, I don't think I don't even remember if I originally even envisioned myself being Steve in that sketch originally, so I didn't even think about whether or not I'd have to be worried about any of that. But luckily, no, it doesn't really matter for the sake of that show.
Yeah, I definitely didn't want to be Dave. I read the script and my Dave.
Part of me, I did think Dave for the name Hey Dave was that's just a very good, simple, one-syllable, common name. So I liked the name. But I also did in the back of my head, I'm like, what if we could get Dave to actually be Dave though?
Right.
I think Dave could be Dave. You were not biting. You were not into that idea. That's okay.
I know my strengths too. I think Dave is the new Bob. I seriously think that because I see Dave all over the place in skits and on TV, And wasn't there like a string of commercials recently? The radio commercials.
Yeah, there was radio.
Dave?
I don't know about recently. There was, I forget what it was advertising, but there was a commercial on radio that I did used to hear all the time where it's like, don't be a Dave.
Yeah, don't be a Dave. And that's when I was like, oh, am I the new Bob? And
yeah,
we just,
basically.
Speaking of like doing other people's scripts too, we just bought a script from our friend Chase Todd, and we did his story. We just filmed it, and the main character in that was named Dave too. And I was like, can we change the name to anything but Dave? We have too many Daves in this network. So Dave is the thing.
Well, I mean, at this point, you might as well keep using Dave so that down the road, when you have many, many, many shows out, you can start putting together this whole Dave-averse.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
It'll be the extended Dave-verse, and it'll have all of these different side stories and alternate universes. It's all Dave-related. You can release the next big Camp Nostalgic book will be the Davepedia, where you have to, like, tie in the Dave timeline. It'll be great.
Coffee table books, calendars.
If it's a coffee book, that could actually be the Coffee at 8 book. The one homage to the one thing.
Yeah, it costs $8.
That'd be a steal probably for what coffee books sometimes go for. Big old hardback. Yeah. Usually very picture oriented, so lots of illustrations or photos or whatever. Coffee books are kind of pricey for basically being famous for a book you just sat on your coffee table and look at.
Right.
Yeah. We thought about books and like publishing and stuff. That stuff is expensive.
Yes.
We even thought like, because we got into photography a little bit too, for some skits. Everything we do is based off a skit. So like, if you watch our studio updates, you'll see some models pop up here and there, and it's not because we're making a Playboy or anything or doing.
But you could be.
That's all for a skit. So like, we had this one sketch where like I wanted this guy to find a porno magazine under a bed. And we're like, oh, we're gonna buy one. No, we're gonna make one. So we had to go find some models. And anyways, where does this go? Oh yeah, we were like, maybe we should do a calendar. Calendars are a steal. Everybody buys them, and no, to publish, to actually print a calendar, super expensive.
Yeah.
To get the paper and the.
Really? I've never looked into what it'd take for a calendar. I've looked into like self-publishing, like if you're just writing a book. I've looked into that because I was curious, but never calendar. I imagine the printing process, is probably a little expensive.
We've explored all those options because, starting a studio, and it really is a studio. We always say we're not a YouTube channel. We just have a YouTube channel. We're a studio, and we've explored all options. Maybe we should print. Maybe we should make books, comics, movies, music.
Yeah.
And it kind of just landed with like, let's just be a video making studio. Produces video content, basically videography.
Well, like you said, like 5-10 year plan, you could start thinking like, down the road, like what would be the next, like if, right now sole focus is like video making for sketches, ads, documentaries, what you're doing right now. That's like the right now. And we're going to be doing that strong and hard for the next 5 years. Then what will be in the next 10-year plan? What's the first thing that's like outside of the video making department? Like, what would that look like? And I don't know what it would be, but like you mentioned comic books, and one of the things that's rattling around the back of my head is Gela doing all of her art can basically do her own comic book. You just need it published.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a goal of mine, but because I just started learning art probably about like 3 years ago, like I have I just made a cartoon called Stoopy and Fran, and it was the first cartoon I've ever made, and I had to learn the animation process, so that's why that took so long. So like I don't know how long a comic book would take me, but like with Stoopy and Fran, I just Dave and Alex came up with the idea. Dave wrote it, and then I did what I could with it, and that's almost along the lines of what would have to happen for a comic book again, but it is a goal.
Yeah,
I really like the idea. This is just first question that you probably don't have an answer to, but when's the next episode of Stoopy and Fran? And then, and then 2, in the 5 to 10 year plan, when does the Stoopy and Fran manga come out?
Oh my gosh. One, I would love that. I would love a Stupid and Fran Fran manga. That'd be so funny. The next
You have an
episode.
answer for when it's coming out.
I don't know. I don't want to say it's coming out for sure, but the goal, I'll say, is before watermelon season is over. I'll say that, and that's coming out. So before watermelon season is done, it should be here.
Stay
That's
tuned.
a weird hint.
I have never ever in my life had a deadline or an upcoming project announced with by the end of watermelon season.
Well, it's like, okay, so I keep saying like the end of September because there's a joke in it. There's a character who's going to be selling watermelon, and of course this is actually an Easter egg to our Coffee at 8 Days. Randy's gonna go on there and he's gonna be like, I'm gonna go check out that place. Watermelons are almost out of season.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, this has to kind of land around that time, which is the end of September, which is when we did that sketch. So.
These are the things that are important to us.
You want it to be topical.
Right, yeah. It's important to me.
I don't want anybody to go, wait a second, this doesn't add up.
Right.
This season, we're not
We're going to be selling watermelons, right?
It's like watermelon season. It's currently January 4th. I'm just recovering from Christmas.
Stupid and Fran Fan is basically done. It just needs voice work, and then Alex is going to do the sound design, and it should be out probably September or October. Something.
Yeah, we've already done some of the voice work, so it's getting there.
Well, this goes without being said, but you know me. If you ever need another random voice, just hit me up. I'll send you a file. I can't promise anything good, but I'll send you a file.
Hey.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We all starred in our very first cartoon together, all three of us. It was Randy Saves Humanity.
Yeah.
That's right. I was like a science... I was the science berry. I was like the weird nerd blueberry alien guy. I don't know what you... Did you both play alien berries as well?
Yes, I was the leader, and you...
I was the dum-dum, yeah.
The dum-dum.
Dum-dum.
I haven't watched that in so long, I couldn't remember who anybody was, but I do remember recording for that. I did a few takes. I'm like, Randy, I'm not sure which one you want to go with, but here's a few. And he's like, oh, okay.
We did the same. We just went down to the basement and just started screaming out lines, yeah. Yep.
God, I'd kind of forgotten about that. I mean, not entirely, because we were talking about Randy's channel earlier, but I'd kind of forgotten about me actually voicing in that. I want to go back and rewatch those. I don't remember how many episodes he made. He made like 2 or 3 or something like that.
We made 2.
Yeah, 2 of them.
Okay,
And,
maybe it was just 2.
Yeah. I'm trying to get him to make 3. Third one.
I would love to see another Randy cartoon, but he says he's taking a break for a while.
Yeah.
Understandable. I know from just on the sidelines, I know animation can take a long time to do. I know, and I've mentioned it on the somewhere, wherever I talk about things, for this podcast or elsewhere, where on my YouTube channel, the first things that I actually uploaded were little stick figure animations of just the stick figure walking up to a thing and basically getting murdered. That was actually my first foray into YouTube, was maybe I'll do animation. And I used this program called Pencil, and I animated frame by frame with my mouse. I didn't have like a tablet or something. And it took a lot of time.
Yeah.
I bet it did. But that's really cool. I didn't know that. Shoot.
Yeah. My first 2 videos were called A Leisurely Walk. It was a Leisurely Walk and a Leisurely Walk 2. And it's the first one is a stick figure walking up to this X on the sidewalk, and he looks down at the X, and then the shadow's like getting bigger on the ground, and an anvil just crushes his head.
Okay.
And then the second one was a Minecraft one where where a stick figure's walking down a sidewalk and a creeper comes around from a bush and explodes on screen. And I did make a third. I had to finish it as a trilogy. I couldn't just do 2. So then a little bit later, it wasn't my third video, but it was the third animation that I did. And the last animation I've done was one where the stick figure is walking through a forest, but there's still the sidewalk, and then you could hear the Slender Man like static start coming in. You saw his like tentacles come out and just murdered this guy behind a tree. There's like the splurt of blood behind a tree, and Slender Man gets the cameraman, and that's the animation.
You know, that reminds me of I have seen these because I watched some of your 10-hour stream and when you were watching.
I played them on that stream because they're not public anymore. They're private just because at one point in time, I think I privated everything from 2015 or something like that and before, just because they're old, they're bad, the quality's terrible. I'm just privating all of these. Some of them had copyright issues because I just stole music because who cared? I was tiny. But anyway, they're all private now. But those were my first actual forays into YouTube was animation. So I know it takes a while. So seeing Gela, you doing Stoopy and Fran, I get you got to learn all that from the ground up. And your animation, just even the characters and set design are far more complicated than what I did. I literally did mine in pencil, which is basically an animation version of Microsoft Paint.
Right.
So that's what I was dealing with.
We wanted to do it traditionally too. When we started, we're camp nostalgic, so we're gonna do it like Hanna-Barbera. Yeah. We're actually gonna draw it out.
Lord.
Angela was gonna draw it out.
Well, we quickly learned there's a reason back in the day when they did hand-drawn animation, they had teams in different departments. It's because, Snow White, for example, took over, it was 600 people and they made 2 million frames, and that's an hour-long movie, you know what I mean?
Right.
For us to even try that, even remotely, even with a 2-minute cartoon, just was impossible. So digital really did save it, but it was just constant pause and go, learning how to do it. But now I know how, and it can be produced a little quicker now.
Yeah, once you know what you're doing.
It's so funny that cartoon is the reason why you have so much digital art now, because you're I don't know if I can do this hand-drawn cartoon of this woman selling bagels and this 13-year-old boy in a diaper pooping himself. I just don't know if I can do it, guys. And you went and bought a tablet, and it became much easier.
Yeah.
But you bought this expensive tablet to do that cartoon, which was so funny, and now it's just spawned this whole art.
Well, and that's where you guys come in, because I'm not a writer. I've wrote a few sketches for us for Coffee Day, and even for other people like Chase and Shep. But I my writing is outlines or really silly explanations. So I needed someone to structure out a script, and you helped in a big way with the art too, because you helped, guide me where they were supposed to be. There was a lot of moments where I needed you to figure out where to go next.
Yeah. It's a process. That the trilogy, the Triforce here of Alex, Gela, and myself have really worked well with Camp Nostalgic. It's we all do some writing. But I've always been known as the writer. Alex is the musician and the composer. And you're the artist.
Yeah.
And we don't step on each other's toes, and it seems to work out pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that's worked out as well as it has so far, because just on the sidelines, knowing that, because I don't know when you guys, the two of you specifically, kind of reconnoitered with Alex after he had moved to Tennessee. I'm not sure when you guys had officially reconnoitered, but I remember from the sidelines, you guys were starting to put out more Camp Nostalgic information, probably on Facebook or whatever is where I probably saw it. And you were releasing some of the old stuff that we had made for Coffee at 8. And you were releasing, I think, the first studio update or whatever. And I remember kind of just coming around to realizing, oh, they're kind of working on stuff again, or at least re-releasing the old stuff, and kind of starting to realize that you were building a thing again. And obviously you've done a lot more since I first started noticing these updates coming in. I think you've had 5 or 6 studio updates. I don't remember now, but there's several studio updates, these different shows coming out, the ball's rolling. You're a guest appearing on podcasts that isn't just mine. I've listened to all of the one, Dave, you were on one podcast. I forget what the name of the podcast was now. You were on one somewhat recently that I listened to, and Gela was on one recently that I didn't finish yet. I was listening to it in the car, and I reached my destination before I was done, and I forgot to come back to it. But I got a good ways into that one. So you guys are going into podcasts, showing up, talking to people, getting out there, and I just think that's really cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. It's in our blood. It's just, Angela was doing this since she was a little girl. I've been doing this since I was in 8th grade, and it's just We have it's the only thing we like to do.
I don't think we know how to do anything else.
Yeah, we love making videos, and Camp Nostalgic's a mix between our dream studio. Like, if I was to make a studio, I would do this, this, and this. But also, it's a love letter to video making and old school video making. Everybody always goes, yeah, I make my little videos, but I really want to be a director. I make this, but I really want to be this. And I'm like, no. What you're doing right now is awesome. Just do this. This is great, because nobody does this. Even YouTube's changed a lot. When we first started doing YouTube, it was like Smosh, and different. Nobody does skits anymore. And if they do, they're like really cheap skits in empty apartments. That they all like. People move to California, buy an apartment. They don't even put pictures up on the wall. They just get it to make these viral videos, and then they move on to the next place and get new friends. It's just all cheap stuff. And nobody actually puts the time and effort into it like you were 15 years old again under your parents' dime. Those were the best years of my life. Yeah. Just meeting up with my friends after school, making videos. And I wanted to start a studio that just did that. And not only with my old buddies again, but maybe kids that are turning 18 right now, or doing stuff with their buddies, and they're like, oh my god, there's a studio for this now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's one of the coolest things about like, I don't know, sometimes I think about this and I don't know why, because it's not like I'm a recent adult. I've been an adult for a while, but sometimes I just think what a wild experience it is that once you're an adult and you have adult money and you have your adult life, and you can do whatever you want. You set your own rules. Like, if I want to go found a goddamn video making studio, what's holding me back? I'm just gonna do it. It's not like you two are like, loaded. You're passionate. So you're like, how can we get these things on the budget that we have, with the resources that we have? And by God, we're not gonna let any limitations that come our way stop us. We're going to start making this thing now and collect on as we go, Like, I'm not loaded with what I do here. I don't have a lot of props and stuff, but like I collected my equipment slowly, and I'm an adult, and I'm like, I want to do this thing. I'm going to do it. And it's just kind of one of those cool things where it's like, I'm an adult. I don't have to think about, oh, look at all these, like when we were kids watching Smosh or whatever. It's not like I want to be like them one day. It's today can be that day. Let's start making things.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of sacrifice, but it's all we really want to do. We converted our apartment into our studio. We sacrificed our bedroom. Like, that's our office now. We got a pull-out couch, for a while. So we sacrificed and said, we want this studio and we want it now. So we just started putting all of our money that wasn't going towards bills and other luxuries towards this. This is what we like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we, so when we started it, we wanted to, have that spirit. Then we followed Alex. He said, we know you live in Memphis now, but we have this idea. We have this idea, and we can come to you occasionally, and we can make this idea happen. And so that started me, Gela, and Alex, and then we got a hold of Randy again. Then we got a hold of you again. We're like, hey, those scripts you wrote at the end of Coffee a Day, do you want to make them? And it's just then we started going, what else do we want to do? Well, I love stand-up. Let's make a show for stand-ups around here, because that's another feeling too. Is like, there's so many people doing creative things that we don't want to step on anybody's toes. We don't want to be like, well, we can do that better, or we can do this, or we can do what you do. No, we want to help people. I don't want to do stand-up comedy, but I love stand-up comedy. And wouldn't it be great if stand-up comics in this area had a place to show their stand-up comedy? That's our mindset. We don't want to do anybody else's trait. We just want to show everyone how good they are. And some people, like myself and Gela, are very disinterested in the industry. The industry to do any of this stuff. We don't really care about going to this place or going to this school or doing that. We feel like we're already doing it, So
learn by doing.
Yeah, exactly. So we want to reach out to those people. The people that are like, I would do it, but college isn't really for me. Well, college doesn't have to be for you. Come over here, do this. We want to be that alternative. You don't have to go to film school. You can come here and cut your teeth with us. So that's goal.
Exactly.
Talk about a 10-year goal. That's our goal.
Yeah.
I mean, like, God, talk about a lofty goal, you know, being a studio, like taking people in to help them create their own stuff. Like, I mean, that sounds like such a huge, to me anyway, especially, such a huge undertaking to sort of become a company that, one, you're trying to use to, as a catalyst for your own creative endeavors, but then to also maybe the 10 to 15 years down the road or whatever is the, how do we become a studio that takes in other creatives and help them achieve what they want to create, and then be a platform for them to share that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, we're not trying to halt anybody's dream. We're trying to push you along. We're a driver's ed for you. We teach you how to do it, and then you can go and you go, where'd you go to school? I didn't really go to school, but I did a lot of work with these guys. And you're like, oh, I know them. Yeah, perfect. You can have this job. you know, like we just want that credibility one day to be able to be looked at as an institution,
Yep.
especially for Champaign-Urbana, because Champaign's a growing city, getting bigger and bigger every year, and we would like to be on the cutting edge of that entertainment scene.
I have noticed you've really taken, as a company, really taken a stance, maybe, I don't know if that's the right word, but like a stance to be proud. Like you see at like the end of some of your shows, maybe it's most of them, were proudly filmed in Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, and that you've kind of come around, you know, like I said, thinking way back to when at one point in time you were both trying to get to California, where now it's kind of come back around to, well, we see a developing community in our local community, and we want to use that or take advantage of that, not like, you know, maliciously, but take advantage of a growing community that you exist in, and display that and use that, and not just be a company for other creatives, but for the entire community itself down the road. And I want to know, like, at what point did that trigger for you guys? Like, when did that sort of set in where, like, you know, you look at each other and say, hang on a second, we want to be proud of this location?
I think it was just thinking that we had to leave this area to be somebody. You know, like, we have to go to California. We're ready. We do videos, but nobody cares. So we got to go to California, and that's where people care. And then it was, I don't know, you know, believe in destiny or you know, divine intervention or anything like that. But we were like Angela said, we were 3 days away from moving to California. The lease was up. All our stuff was packed up, and we had a death in the family that halted that completely. And it was almost like life going, you're not going anywhere. You got to take care of this person. You got to stay here for this. And that kind of snapped us right out of the spell of moving. And I was like, what are we doing? We're going to move to the desert to do the same thing we do here. And then we're going to be more frustrated because a million other people moved to the desert to do this. And if we can't make it here, we can't make it anywhere. Then we started thinking, you know, maybe this is the spot. Maybe we don't need to move and try to become bigger artists. Maybe we should stay here and first perfect what we're doing in the first place. And Coffee at 8 kind of opened our eyes to that too. We're like, we love doing it. Let's just buckle down. Let's get a trademark. Let's make a studio. Let's get better cameras, lights. Start becoming producers and promoters more than just YouTubers, people that make videos. Those people, you know the stigmas. You just make YouTube videos. Well, we wanted to create a video making studio.
Yeah.
That's where we created the term independent storyteller, because I feel like that's what we've always done. We've independently told stories since we were preteens.
Yeah, we really have.
Yeah.
All of us.
Some more than others. I think I just play video games, but...
Well, I mean, you're also a poet.
Yes.
You're a writer.
That's true. But I I do think that I think that between the obvious passion and the drive to do what the two of you are doing, and that so far everything you've created is going to, especially now that you're coming out with a sort of consistent plan to release content and shows and start hitting the public, I think for me, as someone who's been creating something on the internet for a long time, I think in the early days of me doing my YouTube stuff, which again, it was video gaming, I wasn't putting together crazy sketches or whatever, but I didn't feel like I had really come into my own in creating my own thing, and that I like really owned it, right? Until I was doing it consistently. So I think, so for me with gaming, it came to the point where I finally buckled down and got to the point where I was putting stuff out every day. Now, it was garbage every day, but I was putting stuff out every day. And that helped me really feel like, hang on, I'm actually attached to this. I'm invested in this thing. I'm putting a lot into it. And I'm putting a lot of time practicing my commentary, practicing speaking, because that did not come naturally in the early days. So practicing speaking, practicing editing, all of this practice, tons of practice and investment into what I do. And I think with the two of you, it's this nostalgic, having the show, finally getting to release the stuff and share it with the world on something of a consistent level where you have blocked out basically a schedule when you want to release stuff. Now, I don't know behind the scenes how exact that schedule is, or if it's like, you know, still kind of a rush to the deadline. I'm not sure how haphazard it might look behind the scenes, but I think you're deep in the investment stage where you can own this company, like, for real, like in your heads. It's not just a title. It's not just an idea that one day we will actually be the Camp. No, you're Camp Nostalgic now. These are just the first days.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, to speak to the schedule, we slowed ourselves down. That was the first thing. We didn't run out of the gate real fast and make like we're gonna upload 5 days a week type of thing. So we're gonna slowly do it. We're gonna do this. There's only, I don't see anybody else doing something like this, so we already, right off the gate, have that special thing, so we kind of do the monthly things. We try to plan for, like the first Saturday of every month, something comes out. And then the being Camp Nostalgic, and, like Angela speaks about it all the time, about imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
And like you're, people could see right through you, that took a while, and I think it took a lot of trust too. We paid our dues even with Camp Nostalgic that first summer, filming and stuff, trying to rub shoulders with people in this community, and tell people like, no, really, we're here and we want to help the community and we want to be a big part of it. We want to work with the top brands, and that took a while too.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, maybe our passion for it just kind of made people go, okay, all right, well, I'll give you a shot. But you said when you first started about just doing it until you felt like you were perfecting it. I stopped looking at people, even you, as a gamer. You're a broadcaster. That's what you do. You broadcast. And without broadcasting over and over and over again, you wouldn't get to a podcast. I don't think you'd be doing the Hasty Podcast 10 years ago.
No.
Yeah. And you practiced broadcasting for 10 years, and you were like, I could do a podcast. I can really broadcast and do interviews and talk about world events and things going on in society. I mean, you just evolved into a broadcaster, and that my whole view started to change. And it was probably because of frustration of the way I thought people were looking at me as just a video maker. I started just calling people whatever they wanted to be known as.
Yeah.
If you're an artist, you're not an amateur artist. You're not an aspiring artist. You're an artist. If you broadcast every day, you're a broadcaster. And I think that seems to be helping.
There's something, I don't remember where I first heard it, because I think it got picked up and a few people started saying it, but somewhere I heard something along the lines of, stop saying you're a wannabe X.
Yeah.
So like I'm like, you know, someone's profile or whatever. I'm a wannabe illustrator. I'm a wannabe poet or whatever. And what they're creating, like they're literally sharing their art, or they're sharing their poetry, or they're sharing their videos or whatever. It's like, stop saying you're a wannabe. You're literally doing it. You're not a wannabe. You're an illustrator. You're a poet. You are literally doing these things. So,
it's like an unrealistic gray line too of like, I'm an aspiring author.
Aspiring,
until when?
Yeah,
until when? Until you sell a first book, you publish a first book, or until you end up on the New York bestsellers list? Like when does this aspiring title go away?
Right.
yeah.
You know, why can't you just be an author? You know?
When are you not an imposter anymore with the imposter syndrome, right? When are you not an imposter anymore? And when are you, well, actually, I am literally doing this. You know, that this is literally what I do. I'm not an imposter. It's like I said I'm going to make this video. I make videos. That's what I do. So, I think that's a fascinating, like, psychological turn that has to happen in every creator's mind before they can really feel at home in what they do.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, there's this other side, too, of like, now we feel like we're doing what we say we're doing. But I was listening to your podcast with Pinata Time, talking about how it's, he's an animator, but it's hard to get people to look at his animation because everybody's an animator, right? So there's that, too, where we feel like we're firing on all cylinders here. We're starting to really grasp what it is as a studio. But oops, everyone we know is also a creator, right? So we haven't really found an audience per se. Like we haven't found viewers or fans. All we know is other peers. So we go, we have a new show out, and they go, cool, I do too. So it's a battle of who's going to watch who, right? So there's a lot of that going on too.
That's so difficult, and it turns so toxic so fast when you start talking to, and you the more you do it, the more you pick up who you're talking to. Where, you know, back in the day, it was like sub for sub stuff, right? You know, like, I'm a creator, you're a creator, scratch my back, I scratch yours. But it's like so transparently surface level, where it's like, if you support my stuff, I'll support yours. It's like, well, your idea of support is you're gonna come to my next video and leave a comment that says "rad vid, bro," but you didn't watch any of it, you know. I'm triggered by the word bro in the comments section. When someone calls me bro in the comments section, I'm immediately triggered. Like, I'm not your bro. You don't know me. You're probably a robot.
I've been like that for years, even in person. I'm like, I'm not your bro.
I'm not your bro. I'm not your bro guy. I'm not your guy, pal.
But that's beginner stuff too, like beginner.
And it is, because it's easier to find, especially today with like social media, it's easier to find your fellow creators than it is to find your audience. Your audience can be notoriously difficult to find. But once you have them, and this is the crazy part, once you have them, it suddenly becomes like up to them to spread the word, because your job is to make the thing. And you market the best you can, but then it just becomes up to your audience to spread the word, because all you can keep doing is what you're doing. I don't know. That's something that's stuck with me for a long time, because since I have been doing my YouTube for so long, I do get some really kind comments. They're very kind comments, but they'll come in earnestly like, "Oh my God, you've been doing this for how long? Why do you not have more subscribers?" And I'll just shoot back like, I have no idea, but it's all up to you. I've done everything I can at this point. So I'm just going to keep doing what I do, try to make it better.
Yep, that was a big concern with us when we first started. We were developing Saturday morning, and Alex and I and Angela were all saying, you know, oh, this is going to be so great. This is such a cool idea for a show. People are going to love it. And I was thinking, well, they might love it, but no one's going to watch it. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, because nobody knows it exists.
Right.
So for the first year of Camp Nostalgic, we went out and actively told people we existed by doing studio updates and doing different series that we always wanted to do, like Funny Ass Road Show, setting up camp. And that was, one, because we really wanted to shine a light on other creators, but really it's also, hey, we're over here and we're about to create a show.
Yeah.
Because if we didn't do that, if it wasn't for that first year of yelling at people, hey, we're over here, we would have released Saturday morning to crickets. Like, it was like, so I feel like that was really important too. And that was a huge fear of like, putting all this effort into it, and just nobody knows it exists. So
I think that's the like worst nightmare of pretty much most creators, is to put all of your love into one thing for it to, it's not even that it went underappreciated, it went unseen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. I know you've struggled with that too. I've heard you over the past, and I think it was one of your podcasts you were talking about that, about how, you know, there's one thing to be ignored, but there's also another thing that the views aren't moving, and we've all been there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the most heartbreaking, frustrating thing, where it's like, what's happening? Are we just not showing up in people's feeds, or what's going on? You know.
Right.
Especially when you start having to fight with like algorithms. So if you're on the YouTube space, you put a video out on YouTube and you're like, well, all right, well, let's look at the data. I put this video, I made this title, thumbnail, content, blah, blah, blah. How many impressions did it even get? Oh, great. Hardly any. So YouTube didn't even show it to anybody. Fantastic. Love it. Thanks, YouTube. Great.
So much for being independent, you know?
And that's where I think more than ever it's become vital, although it's really hard to get into because it's so much to keep track of. And as a creator, you want to focus on creating your thing. So like you guys making your shows, that's what you want to focus on. But then you have to share it with somebody. So now it's like, now I have to have a YouTube. Now I have to have a Facebook page. Now I have to have, and this is just for sharing the content, not even sharing announcements. I have to put content on those two. I have to put them on Instagram and Instagram Reels and TikToks. And it's like you have to get every eventually, maybe not all at once, but eventually you want to be on as many platforms as possible, because honestly, you don't trust any one of them to help you.
Right.
Yeah, really. Yeah,
So,
and I didn't want to be on any of them.
right.
That's the thing. Like before Camp Nostalgic, it was just like with Coffee Day. I was like, I'm done with social media. And then when the studio started to rumble, we were like, maybe we should do something again.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I'm only getting on Facebook to tell people that I'm making a studio, and that's all I'm going to use it for. You know, and I still use it that way.
Right.
And that has its negative effects too, because people are like, I want to see your kids. I want to know what you did today. I want to know what you think about the election. I want this. I'm like, nope. New video, content coming.
One, you do not want to know about the election. No, I'm just kidding. We do not want to do that over Facebook.
Yeah.
But,
I don't want to make it.
But I think that's where, like, for Facebook specifically, where you can create a separate page as opposed to doing it all on your personal page, because that's what I discovered in the early days, back when I used to be on Facebook a lot, and everything that I did on YouTube, since I was just doing YouTube in those days. I think Vine was around, but I didn't understand it or care about it. But when I was doing all my YouTube stuff, I was sharing all of that to just my Facebook. I don't think I had a Twitter yet, or I was just getting into Twitter, so I didn't do a lot there yet. And what I discovered is that, oh yeah, my friends list, by and large, do not care about what I'm doing on YouTube. They're not the gaming crowd. One, I'm bad at what I do, so it's bad videos anyway. So let alone if they did care what they would think. So no one cares. So then it's like, well, now I'm going to create a page so that hopefully I can get people that do care. They'll follow this page, and I'm not restricted to having to post to my friends my friends on my Facebook friends list, because they don't care. And so, like with Facebook, it's like having your own page. Twitter, you don't want to just have your personal, like just your personal accounts. Like you have to have your specific Camp Nostalgic Twitter, as opposed to just the Dave Rediger or the Gela Rediger Twitter. It's vital to use your personal ones too, but like trying to almost nicheify your audience so that they have like the one place they know they can go to for that content specifically. I can't say that it's been wildly successful for me, but it's been more so than just focusing on like Facebook or whatever.
Yeah. Well, you're a very good example. It's so we know right off the bat about year 8 or 9 people will start caring. It took you a while to really gain that traction. Even in 2016, when we were all talking Coffee Day, we would talk about the channels and stuff. Alex's channel, your channel,
all the time.
Yeah, and then you really started hitting it over the past few years.
Yeah, and it's wild how long it takes to get that traction. And that's what we were talking about, like finding your audience and then just having to trust that that audience will do a lot of that legwork for you, because at the end of the day, there's just only so much you can do other than like going out and like buying 10,000 robots to follow you, which is not going to help, but...
I always joke that like bands go on tour. So why can't video makers go on tour? And our tours are just knocking on people's doors and making people watch our videos.
Well, it's kind of funny because video makers are going on tour more often now, specifically like YouTube video makers. There's a lot of different YouTube channels and groups that are going on tour now. You guys, I think you both went, I know Gela went to the Game Grumps one years ago during the Coffee at 8 days when they were up here in Chicago.
Angela and Alex went.
Yeah, we went down there and seen them. That was a lot of fun, too.
Yeah, they sold out the Chicago theater, which was insane.
Yeah, it was. They were just playing Mario Kart and spitting gum up in the air. I'm like, wow, they're making a buck right now.
Yeah, they got boy band fame. Yeah.
And that's just, it's kind of amazing that, like, it is happening where video makers, even if it's something goofy like that, are touring. It's kind of a shame, though, that, like, in terms of audience, right, you can't really go on tour to get an audience. You usually go on, usually go on tour once you have one already. But it would be funny to go, like, big, citywide, nationwide, knocking on doors. Have you got 5 minutes to talk about my website?
We're going to go on a bulletin board tour where we just go town to town, find bulletin boards at grocery stores and post offices and just put our flyer up.
Business card.
If you do every town in Illinois, you're bound to get a sub.
At least one sub. That's all I want. Yeah. If I get one sub, by the thousands of miles and gas money I spent to do this will be worth it.
Yeah. People don't understand.
There was I was vaguely considering it because it would be such a funny goof, but it'd be so pointless. But I was on TikTok today, and it was one of the sponsored TikToks. So it was an ad for this billboard company. They own digital billboards all across the nation, and you can rent out time slots basically for as little as $10 a month or whatever across the nation. Which I don't know. I think the $10 was like for your like 7 to 12 seconds slot on their billboard. So like that's like one time or whatever. I don't know. So like you can see how it'd get expensive very fast. But part of it was like it'd be such a funny goof to slap a Magic Man Mo or a Hasty Podcast or any of those things just on a billboard somewhere for $10 a month for just those like 15 seconds a day for like a year, so just some random town somewhere in the nation. I thought it'd be a pretty funny goof.
It might work for a Hasty Podcast if you say, right now it's almost like tune into this station right now. You can just put your Spotify right there.
Yeah.
When people driving down the highway, they just flip on Spotify, right?
For the podcast, maybe it would get a listen or two, something like that. I figured for sure the gaming channel, everyone's gonna roll their eyes at and be like, "Oh yeah, sure." But maybe the podcast, I don't know. I don't know if I want to blow that kind of a budget on a billboard campaign. That seems kind of a shot in the dark for my pod. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe I'm underselling the podcast a little bit. I don't know. But I saw that just today, and I bring that up because it's like, talking about audiences. It's like, well, what if you guys pooled together, like, I don't know, $100 for like a week-long billboard campaign? What would even happen? Would it work? I don't know. I have no idea.
Camp Nostalgic. People will just think it's a camping site or something.
Right, yeah.
Where's Camp Nostalgic? Is that by the old Yogi Bear?
Yeah. We're not going camping in October. Because we pick a terrible month for it, too.
It's already past watermelon season. I can't go camping.
Blew our money on the melons.
Where's Camp Melon?
That's down the road.
Right.
That's on a different website.
a very adult-themed website.
Yes. It was either Camp Nostalgic or Camp Melons. I can't remember which one was yours.
I want to see. I don't know if it's still images or if you can do like video slots on the billboards. Since they're digital billboards, right? I want to just see the entirety of the 2-minute Stoopy and Fran animated cartoon on a billboard somewhere in Times Square, just playing.
That'd be amazing.
And everyone's just like, what is this? Why is it here? I better tune in.
It's one of our most viewed videos, that Stoopy and Fran.
It actually is, yeah.
Animation's weird because if you're really into the animated world, you know that on YouTube specifically there was this sort of huge boom in animations a long time ago, and then YouTube changed an algorithm and like killed animation on the platform. But then sometime about 2-ish years ago, maybe two, something like a year or two or so ago, it's sort of discovering a renaissance again, in a sense, where you're seeing a lot more animations do well, where they were kind of killed off for a while.
Right.
Yeah, that happens. Yeah, the same thing happened with sketch comedy, too.
It did, and that's what you were talking about, like, no one really does a lot of sketch comedy anymore. Or if they do, maybe it's still that, like, really, like, I think, like, College Humor probably still does, like, their version of sketches, and, like, maybe, I think Smosh still does sketch. I don't know what Smosh does anymore, to be honest, but they probably still do some sketches. There's another YouTube channel I followed called Door Monster. They do sketches.
Yeah.
So you do have a few channels like that, but it's not really seen a new renaissance lately, which makes you wonder if there's one on the horizon one day.
I would hope so. Yeah, it's always been our genre, so.
Because, you know, things kind of come in waves. You know, they kind of come and go.
Well, yeah, and it does prove that it was once the thing to do, because you and Alex were doing Idiosyncrasy. Gela had Gela TV and Slappies. I had Space Dog TV. You know, we're all doing the same thing in different parts of these two counties here. And so it was the thing to do back in the day, like from 2008 to 2011 or something like that. Friends would just meet up and create sketch groups.
Which is funny because pretty much right after that, or towards the tail end of that, started like the vlogging phase. Vlogging was very big, which just took the sketches out and said, yeah, instead of sketches, we're just gonna do like our everyday life for an hour or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. When one of the first projects with Camp Nostalgic was the Dustin Danger thing, and he's based out of Oakwood, and that's where I grew up. And when I was a kid, it was every single day, even through the summer and the winter, we were out making some video. And every time I drive through Oakwood now, it's a ghost town, and it bums me out because I'm like, where is the group of kids way too old for the playground but hanging out at the playground making a video? Like, where are the video kids? There's nobody in this town anymore, and they're probably streaming or doing something inside, but like there's nobody outside anymore.
Right.
It kind of bums me out because we were doing it until we were like 17 years old.
Part of it makes me wonder if it's because, you know, we're so attached to the internet now, right? So if you are shooting videos, you might be wanting to do stuff, like if it's on TikTok, for example. If someone wants to shoot a TikTok, they gotta have like Wi-Fi access. I know people have data, but depending on where you're at, maybe you don't have a good connection. So maybe out in Oakwood, you don't have a great connection. So no one's outside because the only time to get a good internet connection is inside. So you kind of have that to fight with now.
It was ironic too, because the internet was the reason why we all got out there and made videos too. When I figured out that you could, when I first discovered YouTube, it was a buddy of mine already had a YouTube channel, and he would go and we'd make these videos, and we'd go to his house. We'd all be up in his room, and then we'd all be like playing GTA, eating pizza over there in the corner of his room, and he'd be hunkered over in his other corner of his room editing a video. And I slowly started to like pay attention, like, what are you doing over there? And I started sitting next to him, pulling up a chair, and I'm like, I'm making a video for YouTube, and I didn't even know what YouTube was. And I was like, what you're doing is you're making a movie, and you're putting it on a place where people can watch it, and people are commenting. That's awesome. And so that fueled every day of our life through high school, is just going outside to the woods, to the playground, making a movie, coming home, putting it on the internet, and then just waiting for people to watch it and compliment us.
I love that for your history to actually be that interested in the process of the movie making, because I know in school, like helping Alex with Idiosyncrasy Productions, I was just like an actor and maybe a consultant to help like with ideas or whatever, but like I was not actually interested in the making of the video, like the editing, the producing. I was not interested in that, which in school I wasn't really interested in that aspect of creativity anyway. I had other interests. It wasn't until like basically after I had left high school and I was in college, and I'm like, all of my hobbies are like gone now. Other than just playing video games on my own, like I'm not in sports, I'm not in band, I'm not in all this stuff. That's all just gone now. So I'm like, well, I've been watching these Let's Players recently. I remember Alex used to make videos. What if I made videos like him, but games? And I had to just like, how do I've got Windows Movie Maker, and I booted it up, and I had played around with it in high school a little bit for a class, because I had that in with Alex where it's like, oh yeah, I can kind of learn how to make videos. And I made 2 music videos in high school for a class that were wildly outside of my actual like personality at the time, so people loved it because I was kind of this stick in the mud smart kid in school, and here's me doing walk like an Egyptian through through Gibson City down the main street all the way out into the forest, and then all of a sudden I was in a one of the state parks just walking like an Egyptian, or doing like safety dance. Those were my 2 music videos. So that was my experience with editing, was just opening it up.
I was a kid that, I wasn't smart by any means, but I was an outcast. Yeah, I didn't talk. I was the weird kid. I'll tell everybody, I failed the 8th grade. So I discovered video making in my 2nd year of 8th grade. And so I was that stupid emo goth kid that failed 8th grade, but he was funny sometimes. But I was just super antisocial, and then YouTube came along, and then there I am, like dressing up in wigs and like doing all these funny little things. But then you see me in class, and I didn't want to talk to anybody. It was all, I'm into Good Charlotte and all this kind of stuff, and I'm into punk rock. But then online, I was this like crazy kid. So I love that stuff, that's why I love video making, because it takes the outcast. An outcast can be anybody who just doesn't feel like they fit into the scene, and it just completely gives them an outlet, and it was so special. And to see everybody go for trends now kind of hurts, because they're just kind of, it's just kind of like a false reason to do it for me. You know, I'm just going to make TikToks, or I'm going to go for the whatever's hot right now. And it's like, you're not really doing it because you want to do it. You're doing it because you're desperate for, you know, like a view or two. Like, I think the sketches back in the day with you and Alex and Angela and then me doing my stuff, we were really doing it because, like, wow, we finally feel like we found something that we can go do and be ourselves at. And
I think you're right, because it's I think you're right with not everybody today, but I think there's certainly a massive group, especially with like the advent of like TikTok, where people are making things for what it can get them, as opposed to making things for what making things can do for them. So making things is a creative outlet, and it helps me express myself, and it gives me something to do, and I find enjoyment from the creation aspect in and of itself. That's different from, I'm going to create a thing that's trending and popular, and I'm going to get lots of views, and I'm going to use those views to like have clout at my local high school. I'm the cool kid now. Look at how many followers I got, or whatever.
Yeah, I've always kind of put video making up against starting a band. You know, some people, you know, join a band because they want to be like super cool and get all the chicks and stuff, but other people just really dig music and love the band life, and that's kind of like video groups. You know, it's just that core group of, you know, boys and girls you're tight with, and it's you versus the world. You know, it was funny how I was always afraid of how everybody felt, and I felt like people were laughing at me behind my seat in school and all this stuff. And as soon as I joined a video group, like I didn't care because as soon as that bell rang, I was with my crew.
Yeah.
It felt so cool, and that that leads up to Camp Nostalgic, where there was a big time in my life where I quit video making, and it was just like, let's just get to normal life, become a dad, become a husband, all just normal thing, get a job, everything, and I kind of forgot what it was like to feel invincible for a little bit. Because that's what video groups and crews really do for you. You feel invincible when you're in a band because your buddy's got your back. And then starting Camp Nostalgic felt like the band got back together again.
Yeah.
Everybody's like afraid of what they're gonna say. Like, oh, I can't say that; it's gonna get me canceled, or I'm gonna make this person mad, or I'm gonna do this. And then once you're in a band, you're like, screw it, let's make as much funny content. Let's be offensive. Let's do this. Like, who cares? Because my buddy's got my back. So it feels good.
When there's definitely a part of that where, again, it's like, well, so what if I get canceled? I've barely even started.
Right.
Yeah,
Love
really.
me or hate me, pay attention to me. That's all I ask.
Yeah, nothing to lose. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I used to joke about that forever ago on when I was making my stuff. It's like, because I think there's something where I'd gotten some like dislikes on a video or something like that, and I was talking about it with somebody, and I'm like, I don't care if everyone hates me. In fact, if I knew for a fact I could create content that everyone hated, but people were watching it, I'll make hate-worthy content.
Absolutely. Even with Coffee Date, we're like, you want to do Inside Weston's Balls? Yeah, I want to do that. Good.
Great,
let's make man cats. Let's do everything we can to be weird and offensive and.
And that gives you, and it's not even just for the views aspect of it, but it is, like you were saying, it's invincible. It's very freeing to know I'm not beholden or tied to, I have to keep myself restricted to a specific set of rules because no one's making those rules other than me. So it's like, if this stuff would be, sometimes maybe it's offensive or uncouth, maybe that's the concern, or maybe the concern is just, oh, maybe this isn't timely, or maybe this isn't trendy. Whatever the concern might be, the only thing stopping you from making the content you want to make is yourself. And then if you get really big, you got managers and you got a team of people you're paying, okay, then maybe you're a little bit more concerned and a little choosier about what you make. Maybe you are then. But until then, you're just creators, right? Just make stuff.
Yeah,
and you gotta live and die with that attitude too. Right? That's a whole big part of, you mentioned managers and getting bigger. Well, if you don't want that stuff and you're pretty set on that stuff, and live that punk rock lifestyle, who cares? Just do your own thing, and the money will come when it comes, and the views will come when it comes, and it just do what you want. If you're not going after that, if you're not going for the immediate sellout, just do whatever you want. Just don't be, racist, homophobic, all that kind of stuff. So don't be an ass. But
and that's less to do with like being, I don't know, PC culture. That's more like, well, how can you enrich yourself by being an ass? Like, how can you enrich your life by being a homophobe? How does that doesn't work?
I don't believe in like political correctness. I just don't be hateful. Don't be hateful. And then the rest is free speech, I think,
Right.
Like, everything's free speech, but you know what I mean? It's like, as long as you're not doing the handful of no-nos, everything else is fair game.
So, what we've decided is that we're going to all start making terrible homophobic, xenophobic content. Got it. Doing it. I'm on it.
Yeah. Why not?
I'm going to introduce slurs in all of my videos.
There you go.
That's going to get all the attention.
Yep. Hidden throughout the video. You click, there'll be an annotation with a link.
If you... they don't do annotations on YouTube anymore. But if you play it in reverse and at half speed...
I'm such an old man when it comes to YouTube too. Alex is always telling me, did you put tags in the video? I'm like, tags? Like, yeah, you gotta put tags in the video. You gotta, you gotta do this and do that. I'm like, oh man, that's why no one's watching.
It's kind of evolved all the way back around where like you don't need to use tags anymore because YouTube's algorithm is so good now in terms of content recognition, so it can like scrub through everything that's said in your video, and it can even scrub through basically what's happening. You don't have to tag your video. The algorithm already knows. Now, a lot of people still tag the heck out of their videos because YouTube's kind of coy about how important tags are or not. YouTube does claim, though, that no, use tags if like something in your title is like often misspelled a different way, so that way people will still find your thing even if it's misspelled. And that's basically what YouTube uses it for now, according to them. If that changes, who knows?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, who knows? It always changes. We've been through so many stages of YouTube.
There have been so many. If you're listening to this podcast on YouTube right now, make sure you leave 5 stars.
Yes. 5 stars, yep.
That's the YouTube I remember. There might have been something before the stars. There might have been, but I didn't really get into YouTube until like 2009-ish. So that's the stars is what I remember.
I believe you could give a half a star too. You could like rate something like a 3.5 if you wanted to.
You might have been able to. I can't remember if it was halvesies or not, or if maybe just the overall one could be halves. I don't remember for sure, but there were definitely stars.
Before I got onto YouTube, because I started in 2008, but before that you could earn badges. This is way before becoming a partner and stuff. You would get like a congrats, you have 500 subscribers badge, and it was placed on your page and stuff.
Oh, so I don't remember the badges. Weird.
People would always go after those badges. You were a big YouTuber if you had a bunch of medals on your sidebar or whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I would say they should bring that back just because it sounds like it'd be fun, like a gaming achievement or something. But often I think a lot of people don't go to people's home pages anymore since they all look the same.
Yeah, that was a big deal too when like I always say when Google took over, and then people tell me, well, Google owned it for a lot longer. They just weren't public with it. I'm like, oh, well, whatever. Like whenever they changed it, because there was a big time where YouTube was YouTube, and then all of a sudden it was like Googleized, and that happened like 2010 or something like that. And somebody told me that Google actually purchased it years before that.
Yeah, I think Google actually purchased YouTube relatively early in YouTube's life. I don't remember how long YouTube was around as just YouTube. I don't know how many years. It wasn't all that many before Google did buy them, but I don't remember how many.
Yeah, it came out in 2005.
I don't know if also like a lot of the scrubbing, because you used to be really customizable with your homepage on YouTube, and I don't know if the loss of that was kind of coincided with the popularity shift from like something like Facebook, like MySpace and Facebook. MySpace was like way more customizable and personable, and Facebook was like a lot more uniform, but Facebook was growing in popularity so much faster.
That's the unsung hero of all of this is MySpace, and it's so sad that nobody, like only we know it. It was an experiment between 2006 to 2010. It hit us right in high school. And it was like this cool, it was like the hangout in Ninja Turtles, like where all the kids hang out. There was no parents were on MySpace. It was all kids, and it was like you could be somebody on there because you could tell people your favorite music, you could promote your band, you could promote, like for us, that's why I always say like we were a band, because we were promoting our videos like a band. People knew us. We sold T-shirts off of MySpace.
Yeah,
it was like really cool. Yeah, you could be yourself, and then everybody switched over to Facebook, and it became, the same thing. But like that's the unwritten hero of all of it is MySpace, and it's sad that people go, "What's MySpace now?" But it was just like this experiment. I feel like our generation was the guinea pigs for social media, because you had AOL Instant Messenger, and you had all the early stuff, but the first experiment into, hey kids, get a social media account, spend every day of your life on it, and put every information you have on it. And now look at us, we're 30. I'm 30, and I've been on social media since I was 15 years old. And that all happened when I was in high school. So that's kind of crazy.
It is kind of wild that, like you said, we're the guinea pig there, kind of the first run.
Yeah, we were. It was MySpace or Friendster. I never had a Friendster.
No, me either.
I didn't really, because I didn't really have reliable internet access. I had dial-up in this small village in Illinois, and we didn't have internet unless we dialed it up, and we were, as kids, only allowed to use it for like school research, because we were charged by like the minute that we were on it or whatever. So we never really had internet, never really experienced the AOL, the instant messengers, the Friendsters, all that stuff. Didn't really do any of that until I ended up moving to Gibson, actually. And then once I did, we actually had real internet that you could just use, and that's when I first got onto like Facebook. Like I had to do it like all at the exact same time. I got hold of Facebook, I got hold of MySpace, I got a hold of YouTube. That's when I made my YouTube account. It was like 2009. I made like a Yahoo Answers or whatever account, so I could answer random questions people asked on the internet. That was an experience.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was the whole foggy years of all those experimental social medias, and and we've been on all of them. I heard off another one of your podcasts. You every time there's a new social media, you get one. I do the same thing because you never know. Like you never know if like this next one's gonna beat Twitter, and it never does.
Right.
But
at the very least, you have to like pay attention to them just so you know what's going on.
I think it's because that happened before. Like the first people on YouTube are the biggest people on YouTube still, or the first people that joined up on this are the biggest people.
The early adopters, yeah.
Yeah, that happened once upon a time, and I don't think it happens that way anymore.
I think it does, but you just never see it coming. It's like the early adopters on TikTok are huge, or the early adopters to Vine got huge, and then it died, but then a lot of them still went on to do stuff beyond Vine or whatever. So you still do see it, but you have to be on it, and usually that means you have to be kind of young, and because like you hear about it from your friends or whatever. It's some rando app that isn't even popular yet, and I feel like by the time I realize something's booming, it's like already boomed. Like my adoption of TikTok was very, very late to the game, even though it's really not that old of an app, all things considered.
No, but things move so fast on it.
Yeah.
I think though TikTok's the exception because it's the newest, biggest one. But like I because of MySpace failing, like being bought out or whatever, and Facebook taking it over, I always thought that was going to happen every 5 years. I was like, oh, enjoy Facebook while it lasts because the next one's going to come out and it's going to take it over. But no, because now we're in the metaverse. Like I think Facebook's staying this time.
I don't think Facebook's going anywhere.
I thought that way with YouTube too. I was like, well, this is fun, and 5 years passed, 10 years passed, 15 years, and I'm still thinking tomorrow all our videos are going to be gone.
There was a period of time where that's what everyone was asking, was like, what's going to happen after YouTube and who's going to be the next competitor. Like you had different video hosting sites before YouTube, obviously, and then some popped up even after, but they never had the staying power. I don't even remember half their names. I know one that I was investing into, not monetarily, but investing some creative outlet into was vid.me for a while, because it seemed like maybe it was like the flashy new thing, and it burned out and died. And I don't know, there's been different sites that have tried to pop up, but YouTube is just too big.
Yeah. And it changed the world. It really did. It changed Hollywood. It changed the idea of becoming a celebrity. I remember I think Markiplier was on Jimmy Kimmel, the Jimmy Kimmel show, and he flat out asked him, he's like, so Mark, how'd you get so many views? You get more views than us. So
it's like well,
television.
Let me tell you, Jimmy Kimmel, you're not fun to watch.
Yeah. He said that in a Markiplier kind of way.
I think Markiplier was way more diplomatic. But I did watch that. I saw that. And there's also a couple other YouTubers that Kimmel had on. But Kimmel was, I feel like, invited them on specifically to just try to be like, haha, YouTubers are dumb, TV's better. And it's like, this is such a garbage interview.
YouTube absolutely changed the world. More people now would rather watch Markiplier play Amnesia than watch The Tonight Show. That's huge.
I know. I love his. I'm watching the mortuary assistant right now, and I'm like, Markiplier, just keep banging it out. Well, he also does his actual, like more like filmed series, like the In Space with Markiplier, the Heist. So that's always very exciting to see as well from these video creators on the internet with internet budgets. It's you don't have to go to, again, kind of cycling all the way back around to Camp Nostalgic. You don't have to have a TV budget. You don't have to be given, which again, Markiplier has had a YouTube budget for that. But where he came from, where he started, right? You did not need this massive TV deal. You don't have to be on TV to be successful, to actually find enjoyment's not the word I'm looking for, but like fulfillment in what you do. Yep. TV's not the end all be all anymore. Like the Jimmy Kimmels, it's like, oh, more people watch this YouTube than us. It's like, yeah, you're not the only kids on the block anymore. TV is not the end all be all.
Right. That does lead us back around to Camp Nostalgic, because that is what I was raised on. I miss the days of television, even though I don't watch TV. That's the big irony here. But I do miss those days of just blindly trusting television. I remember when in school, somebody would be like, "What are you doing after school?" "I'm just gonna go home and put on MTV. Just gonna watch that till I go to bed." People trusted networks back then. You could trust kids' content. Just put something on for your kid. You can go do something. You can trust that the TV is gonna educate your kid and entertain your kid. And it was always something good to watch. And that's what I wanted to mimic with Camp Nostalgic, is that brand trust. That's not going to be just Wild West of content. It's just going to be all kind of, you can trust us, the quality of our content's all the same, and it's these grand shows that you used to watch on television, but now they're on the internet. So I'm a huge fan of the formatting of TV and the history of TV, but I don't work on TV. I'm a internet creator, so yeah, that's kind of our style.
Right.
You want to be the internet's version of TV.
Yes. but a parody of it. I think, yeah.
Or parody of it. Which is, I think, pretty close, pretty accurate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's I guess more parody than I'm thinking satire, but it's not really satirical because it's not like the level of cynicism that comes with it. It's just again, it's an appreciation of the nostalgia, an appreciation of what was, and then merging that with modern, basically modern internet use, modern connectivity that we have.
Yeah, well, Saturday morning's kind of a mixture of that. It's like, I have older parents. A lot of kids when I was in school had young parents that were born in the 80s. Mine were born in the 50s. So my parents saw everything. They saw president assassinations. They saw TV go from black and white to color. They saw a lot of stuff. And I always thought my parents were too old to understand anything that I was doing. And I was basically right. But what I got from my parents was historical knowledge. I was the only kid in school that knew these 1950s sitcoms, that knew all this stuff about 1960s bands. And my mom was a big country western person, and my dad liked, old school rock and roll and classical music and all this kind of big range of things. And I really soaked in all of that knowledge. And I would just tell my parents, how was TV in the 50s and how was this? And, so with Camp Nostalgic, I wanted that kind of new age feel, because Alex and I have a show where we're standing on a podium with two microphones. It's sort of video podcast-ish, but also the show starts with the national anthem, because back in the day, TV started with the national anthem. It came on at 5 a.m, national anthem. It went off the air at 8 o'clock at night, national anthem. And down to the bumpers and the commercials. I wanted to feel like an all ages show. Not only with what we're talking about, but I wanted somebody that's my parents' age, in their late 60s, to go, this makes me feel like I was a kid watching something. But it's with you kids now, but it kind of makes me feel like old TV a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a pretty good place to start to kind of wrap up today's episode. I think that's a good note to end on. You guys have come a long ways from where you started with the concept of what would become Camp Nostalgic. I think you have quite the path ahead of you. I'm sure it will not be without its challenges and hurdles, but I'm excited to see this thing continue to develop and move forward. As a friend of yours, I want to see it successful for you. I think that's amazing. And then as a fellow creator, I think what you're doing is very interesting and harkens back to those sketches and kind of like hits that feel, that like fulfillment feels. And just, in general, I think, you two are very passionate for what you do, and I hope it continues to do everything for you that you could possibly want it to do. I hope you guys have enjoyed being on the show. Maybe have you on again sometime down the road as well.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate what you just said. And I tell Angela all the time, Camp Nostalgic is the house that Hey Dave built. Simple as that. So as long as you keep pumping out Hey Dave scripts, we will be expanding.
I can. Obviously, season 1's not out on the show yet, but if people want to see season 2, I will write. Because I can write season 2 of Hey Dave. Yeah. So,
yeah.
And then, of course, if I have any other ideas, just as a friend, I'll shoot them your way, and you can have fun with them as you like. Or if you need a voice for your animation, or honestly, if either of you ever need anything for anything, you can reach out to me. Especially if you're in the area and I can help or whatever, I'll do what I can. But yeah, for everyone at home that is listening, check out once again campnostalgic.org. is the landing page for all of the things Camp Nostalgic. I would also highly recommend a subscription to the YouTube channel, Camp Nostalgic, and give Gela and her art some love over at GelaRediger.com. Did I forget what it's called? Yeah, GelaRediger.com. Go give that a look-see. Maybe you can order some art from over there, and or at least just appreciate it. All of the links to their stuff will be in the description of wherever you are listening to this. So if that's YouTube, that's right down below. If that's on Spotify, it's in the description there. And as for everything else, thank you all so much for listening. This has been a Hasty Podcast. Today joined by Camp Nostalgics, Dave Rediger, Gela Rediger. Is there anything else the two of you want to say before we go?
God bless America.
Yeah.
God bless America. I love it. All right. Thank you all for listening. Until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and wash your hands. Bye.
Bye.